availability of porn?
Porn and so the ability of porn and premarital sex. So before, like you know, it wasn't as accepted, and porn wasn't readily acceptable. So therefore, your that sexual desire or that energy that you don't have too many outlets. But now you have a lot of outlets. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to get married to have a sexual encounter. Okay, so once again, what is it? It's a fear of marriage, and you don't want to get divorced, and then you don't want to mess up your career or your dream or whatever. Too many options with dating apps, and then lust. Okay. Number two, how is fear opposed to love?
Because you're not
Vulnerable. Vulnerable. Yeah.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. Fear is all about like
opening up.
yeah.
Be you and
Right. Love is about opening up, and fear is closing. Good. And how about pride?
you're not thinking about them, you're thinking about yourself.
Okay, so it's more self. Okay, and then lust.
It's more about how you use people for your own
Right.
needs
Right.
than embracing.
Right. It's like, what can you two do to satisfy me? What are the four stages that we're going to be looking at? Singleness, dating,
Secret engagements.
engagements, and then marriage. So, what do you think we're going to go over today? Singleness. Last one. Oh, actually, two more. When do you become a life sucker?
Where you're not complete.
Ah, the word complete is not. I mean, I know what you're saying, but that's not a good word.
Where you're not fulfilled by God.
Okay, when you're not, yeah, when you're not fulfilled by God. Okay, so what happens?
You suck your life out.
Right, right. We all have needs, and it's okay, right? To want love, to want affirmation, to want acceptance. That's okay, but if we don't receive it from God, what's gonna happen? Then I'm gonna suck it from you guys, right? And that's when we become a life sucker. And what was the illustration? The oxygen tank, right? Two people scuba diving. One people run out, then they want to attack the other person to grab theirs, right? Because they don't have any more air, so they're desperate. And then, yeah, that answers it. All right. Question number one: what are the pros and cons of being single? All right, very nice. So those are some of the pros and cons of being single. So let's go into it. Okay. So again, what does God want us to do in our singleness? When I was young, Christmas always involved extensive travel for my family. We would wake up. They actually lived in Texas. We would wake up and then would drive down to visit country grandma's house. Shortly thereafter, we would head south about an hour and visit city grandma's house. I think it was Houston or San Antonio. I forgot. We called it the Love Triangle. Driving all over every Christmas. Does that make sense? Because you're from your house and then country grandmama and then city grandmama and can come back home. All right.
Country granny's gifts were usually a bit odd. City granny's gifts were always much better, except for one year when it all got flipped. Country granny gave me a slingshot. This thing was made of titanium. It was the greatest gift that a 7-year-old boy could receive. It was unbelievable. It was a great start to a great day. Then my city granny handed me a single sheet of paper that read, "You are the recipient of 100 shares of stocks in such company." To say I was disappointed would have been an understatement.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
As a kid, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you're a 7-year-old. Who cares about a piece of paper, right? Next.
Fast forward a couple of years later, my brother somehow got his hand on my slingshot and he shot me with it. He used pennies as his ammo and drew blood. I looked at my bloodied arm in disbelief. How could this happen? This gift, which was supposed to bring me joy, had brought me nothing but sadness and pain.
Yeah, so he was really excited about this slingshot, but later his brother used this slingshot to hurt him really badly. Okay. Titanium. Can you believe it? Next.
Fast forward again, another 20 years later, I was in grad school. Most of my seminary friends were financially struggling so much that they had to go to food pantry to feed themselves. But I didn't worry at all about about my finance. Why? Because my stock that my city granny got me experienced significant growth.
I wonder what it was. Yeah, he doesn't talk about it in the book.
Yeah.
Maybe Google. Hmm.
Amazon.
Right. Amazon.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Zoom. Apple.
So do you guys kind of see what happened? Right in the beginning, the slingshot, he was like, "This is the greatest gift ever," but this greatest gift actually hurt him the most. And then he's like, "This piece of useless paper got him actually through school without debt." All right. Why am I telling you about this series of events? To illustrate how oftentimes what we want in the moment is not always what is best for us in the long run. Huh? I'm sure all of us could relate with that, yeah? And what is best for us, we do not always value or appreciate. Some gifts are more welcome than others. Why wasn't a 7-year-old thrilled with stocks? Ignorance. It took love and wisdom for City Grandma to give me a gift that I was not able to value at the time. Which brings me back to singleness and dating. Sometimes, the most loving gift God can give us is singleness. Woo! Come on. I don't know if I could. No. I feel like we live in such a love, not even love, like dating infested world. I feel like even though I'm married, if I were to somehow became single for unfortunate events, I would absolutely hate it. I would not be single for a very long time. So I think too, actually, yeah, this is I think really hard to take. All right.
Why would I call singleness a gift? Because that is exactly what the Apostle Paul called it in 1 Corinthians 7:7-8. I wish that all were as I myself am, but each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. To the unmarried and to the widows, I say that it is good for them to remain single, as I am.
Okay, so have you guys heard that before?
Yeah.
Some Christians or friends telling you that singleness is actually a gift?
They know.
And then some people joke around, they say, "Oh, I don't have that gift."
No, usually whenever I get this text, it would always be like, "Oh no, God doesn't want us to be in relationships. That way we can devote ourselves to the ministry."
Right.
Yeah.
So they say, yeah, it's a gift of singleness. Right. You guys heard that? No? Okay.
A little bit, but I don't think people take it that way. I feel like the older generation takes it what he said.
Yeah.
I think the younger generation is more yeah, be single as much as you can and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Kind of way.
I see.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Is it your turn?
I just read it.
All right.
Oh, don't miss this. Paul just calls singleness a gift, yet many singles I know long to be connected to somebody. Current surveys of millennials indicate that nearly 96% long to be married at some point. So singleness is a gift that the vast majority of us don't want. Some of you may be okay with it now, but as the years go by, this is a gift you might come to resent. What kind of gift is this? Why will you do this?
Okay, what do you guys think? Can you guys resonate with this at all? This paragraph? Would you guys see singleness as a gift from God?
Depends on what you do with it.
No. Not so you yourself.
Oh,
Do
man.
you see it as a gift from God?
Right now, I do.
Okay, you do.
Yeah, right now I do.
Okay,
I don't
but
know if
let's go with what Louis said first. You said no.
Mm-mm.
Why?
For me, it's
No.
I don't know. I like being around people, so it's kind of one of those things of
But you could be around with people, with friends,
yeah, but it's
church.
it's not the same thing as having a more meaningful relationship.
Huh.
So
That's very interesting, huh?
yeah.
That's very telling. You got to make some good friends then.
Well, the thing is not because the thing is I don't know.
No, I mean
It's,
even with your previous statement too, you said that you could have more meaningful conversation with a girl basically that you're dating than a friend, which I feel like it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it is for you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not judging you, but I just feel like that doesn't necessarily have to be true
Right.
for everybody. But maybe for
I might be
you it
looking
is.
at it wrong. I might be looking at things
Right.
wrong. So
Maybe the type of friendship that you had in the past, maybe you never experienced that intimacy before.
I will admit, probably no. I don't
No.
know. It's still something left to discover.
But
It's
for you,
more-
it's like that.
If it's even
You just
something,
feel like
yeah.
with friendship, it's something lacking. That
Yeah.
with somebody dating, that emotional
Yeah, 'cause
aspect
it
is
feels
missing.
a little more committed because with friends, throughout my experience, everybody's come and gone. So it's kind of like, well, it's only so much of like I guess life and things that gets poured out. Because from there, it's like, you know, they leave and that's it. And
But
sometimes
same
people
thing with
leave,
dating, no? Because
Yeah.
dating, you're not married.
True.
So dating, you could pour your out and then it could all leave
Yeah, but
anytime.
it's
No?
like the hopes of the commitment staying there longer with people. It's like it's kind of a scary thing because it's like you don't know exactly how long sometimes people stick around for, like they'll leave or whatever, and like will they reach back out? And then for the most part, I find myself reaching back out, and then from there, that's kind of where things kind of die off. Like,
So I think for you, you're saying with relationships, you feel like there's a little bit more commitment, whereas friendship, they can come and go
yeah,
more easily.
Mhm.
And I think I would say that's probably not friendship then. They're probably not good friends then.
well,
I mean, that's just my definition.
could be right.
Could be right.
Could be right.
Could be wrong.
Might have a lot to learn yet.
For me, since I feel like I'm too young
Okay.
to think about like marriage and like dating right now. Mostly
Yeah.
because I feel like it's maturity.
Yeah, maturity. Like you're not mature enough.
Yeah, I'm not mature.
Okay.
Mature enough. So I feel like the singleness is a gift because it lets you mature with God, so that you can later be ready.
Interesting. Do you think you always thought that? Like you always had that kind of mindset? Or is it more because like you're studying?
Because of my experiences that I know that it's like I am not.
I
mature
see.
enough,
I
right?
see.
So
I
it's
see.
like I feel like if I'm mature with God, right, then I'll consider that I will be ready.
I see. I see. So because like previous relationships didn't really work out that well, you feel like, oh, maybe I'm not ready yet. Kind of a thing? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but kind of like more spiritually related.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is.
So spiritual readiness. Whatever.
it's
Yeah.
spiritual.
All right. Genesis, you see it as a gift?
At least for now.
Yeah. And then
Thankfully.
in what
Yeah.
sense?
Right. Yeah, at least for now. Yeah.
And then why?
Oh, because I've been just experiencing, I guess, small but consistent growth in a lot of areas, I think, in my life. So that's been pretty nice. I feel like from past relationships, and this is just how I felt like. I felt like I was always being like held back by like whoever I was dating, and it's just like kind of sad to think about it that way sometimes. But if I really have to like think back and why I always like dated the people I dated, I'm like, yeah, it's because there was like not much growth within our relationship. We did maybe a little bit, and then another one happened. It's just like there's like nothing in between. So now that it's been a while since I haven't been in a serious relationship, it's been kind of nice, good growth, and it's like really really nice. Yeah.
So let's see why Paul called this a gift. Okay. So then what is singleness for? Paul declared that it exists to promote what is appropriate and to secure undistracted devotion to the Lord. So of course there's a lot more benefits to singleness. But the main point that the Bible says, singleness is a gift from God. Not just a gift or not just a blessing, but from God specifically. Okay? Is so that We can promote what is appropriate and to secure undistracted devotion to the Lord. Do not miss this. This verse just told you 2 reasons why God has ordained the season of singleness in your life. Let's take them one at a time. First reason.
First, you're single to promote good order, to promote what is appropriate. What does that mean? Appropriate means especially suitable or compatible. An action is deemed appropriate if it fits in a given environment. Conversely, we deem an action to be inappropriate when it does not fit a given context, like wearing a swimsuit to a wedding. There is nothing wrong with a swimsuit, but it is inappropriate attire for a wedding. Why? It does not fit the context. Context determines the appropriateness of a behavior.
Okay. So again, depending on the situation, certain action is okay and certain action is not okay. Right? Another example, if you're just messing around, no problem. But at a funeral, messing around, not okay. Right? Something like that, right? So again, messing around is not a bad thing, just that depending on the context. So let's go with that.
How does this relate to singleness? The Bible declares that singleness can promote in you a worldview and a lifestyle that fits your environment. You are single because God wants to champion something in you. He wants to foster a way of seeing and a way of living that fits the occasion we live in. That is appropriate for our given context in this day. This brings up the $1,000,000 question. What is our context? What is our environment?
Okay, so we have to first understand what context we're living in. Okay, what's the Christian worldview that we believe in? Let's keep going.
Paul explained in 1 Corinthians 7:29-31, "This is what I mean, brothers, the appointed time has grown very short. From now on, let those who have wives live as though they had none, and those who mourn as though they were not mourning, and those who rejoice as though they were not rejoicing. For the present form of this world is passing away." To be clear, however, Paul was not advocating that his audience ditch their spouses and discontinue all purchases. Rather, he was asserting that singleness, dating, and marriage, while important, are not the main storyline in your life.
Oh, okay. So again, he's giving us a context, right? So the context of a Christian and the context of a non-Christian is very different, right? Because a non-Christian says what? That we all came by random chance. And then what's going to happen? After we die, what happens? Nothing will happen, right? So we are here by chance, and we got what? One life. So the goal of your life here is do whatever the heck you want and enjoy the heck out of it as much as you want. So then, singleness sucks if you feel lonely, for example, right? Singleness sucks for some people if you're lonely, right? And why would you be lonely in this context, right? Why not go and date as many people and have fun and not be lonely? Does that make sense? Why? Because the context of this is you only got what? 60 to 80 years of life. That's all you got. So you got to enjoy the heck out of the 60 to 80 years of life. Does that make sense? And then what's the Christian context that Paul gives? So obviously we were created by God. But then what is he saying? He's saying Jesus is going to come anytime soon to restore us so that we can live forever and forever and ever. So if that's the storyline that we're in, is marriage the ultimate thing? No, I mean, it's great, but it's not like the meaning of my life. Does that make sense? Okay, so we have to understand what kind of context that we're living in. Right? If you don't believe in God, then yeah, singleness is terrible for some people. I know some other people, like singleness is great. Like they have, like you guys said, like freedom and like they could do whatever they want. Okay, but for people who feel lonely right, that's their goal in life. Okay, but again, for Christians, it's a different context altogether. So we have to understand. Oh yeah, marriage, dating, like this is not my ultimate thing. Let's keep going. Isabella, just go for it.
A much bigger story has been and is even now playing out in the world. What is it? Earlier in 1 Corinthians 6, Paul stated that the world abounds with fornicators, idolaters, thieves, revilers, swindlers, and none of them will inherit the kingdom of God. Then he confronted his audience, and you and me, by saying, and such were some of you.
Okay, let's keep going.
None of us are what we should be. If all of us gathered in a room and told our stories, it would include tragic, broken, inexcusable things that have happened to us and horrible, sad things that have been perpetrated by us. We have fallen far short of what God intended for us to be. The world is a mess. Yet the storyline of the Bible is that God is on the move to renew and restore this world and humanity. He is cleansing us off and setting us apart for Himself. Sanctification. Adopting us into His family and inviting us into His mansion,
Yeah,
into His mission.
right. So that's the grand purpose of what God is trying to do in this world, right? It's not, oh man, how can God goes like, how can I find the perfect man for Belen so that she's happy and satisfied? Like that's not that I'm saying God doesn't want that, right? But that's not the main goal, right? The main goal is there's brokenness that is in all of us. Like He wants to restore that, and He wants to complete us, and then use that to help other people. And then sometimes, yeah, marriage can be that. Dating can be that. Singleness can, but everything, all of those, the reasoning has to be, again, fit within the context of what God is doing in this world. Yeah? Make sense? Let's keep going.
It is primarily a story, not a relationship with a spouse, but a relationship with our King. This brings us back to our verse when Paul said that the time is short. There is not a lot of time left in the world. He said the day is coming when God will stop the clock and history will come to an end. Life is short. Therefore, when we look at men and women in the world, we should be far more concerned about the state of their soul than their relationship status. The amount of time is short. Thus, God has ordained a period of time when you're not married or dating to help you focus on what matters most. As Paul told us to promote what is appropriate and to secure undistracted devotion to the Lord.
I kind of, as Luis was reading this, I kind of envision like Titanic, you know? Like it's going down, remember? Like it hit the iceberg and it's going down. And it's, can you imagine like some people are like, as it's going down, they're like, hey, you want to start dating? Hey, let's start. Dude, I really need a girlfriend right now or boyfriend. I'm really lonely.
I don't want to die single.
Like I want to get married. Yeah. You know what I mean? Then it's kind of like you don't understand like what's going on, like the reality. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, no, we gotta get out.
You
Like
know,
we gotta
that
get.
illustration,
Uh,
it sounds so ridiculous that you would even think about it.
no, exactly, right, right, and that's what Paul's kind of trying to say, right? He's saying like, dude, like the world isn't gonna end soon. Again, he's not saying like don't get married. He's not saying like all of that. He's just saying you have to understand what the most important thing is. Like don't lose sight of that. Because if you do, then all this, every single stage, the singleness, engagement, dating, married. Sorry, single, dating, engaged, married. Don't mess up the steps. Yeah, like it's not gonna. You're gonna miss the whole point of it. Okay. So again, we have to first understand the context of what kind of world that we're living in. So that's number one. Let's go to number two. Reason number two.
For many of you, this raises a natural question. Can't I be devoted to the Lord while married? Why do I have to be single? Notice Paul stated that God ordained singleness in order to secure an undistracted devotion to the Lord.
What do you guys think? And not just like being married, but like dating too. Do you feel like, question for you guys, do you feel like dating or being married? I know some of you guys haven't been married, but like, or even like in that like stage of like, do you feel like it distracts you from God? Like, can it? But can that actually get you closer to God? Like dating or.
You carry your habits into your relationships.
Okay.
So whenever like other people, it's always been a kind of something to bring up front of like, hey, so this is something I do.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I need to have time for me, then I'm gonna have this time blocked off. But if like you want to have something together, then we can have our own separate thing like to do later. But for the most part, like the habits that you have will follow you into a relationship. So if you have bad habits, they will follow you into it.
If you have good habits, they
And
will
if you
follow
have
you.
good habits, then they'll follow you.
So it doesn't really matter, right? If you have a good relationship with God now, then if you're dating or get married,
Yeah, we continue having a good relationship.
okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't have good relationship with God when you're single,
The other person might be able to help you out, so there actually might be a plus thing.
Yeah.
Somebody constantly be like, "Hey, let's do this together." Actually, sit you down and be like, "Let's do this."
right? So you would disagree with Paul, right?
Uh,
Because he's saying it's a distraction.
I mean, to a degree.
In what sense do you think?
'Cause,
Why do you think Paul says this then?
I guess it's like for your own personal self because it's like maybe it's to kind of assure that you yourself know of your own salvation and your own commitment to God versus having to rely on somebody else to do it for you. So
Okay.
that's probably what I understand from it.
So definitely you dating somebody can benefit you, but Paul's also saying you got to have your own faith.
Yeah.
Belen, what do you think about this? Do you agree that being single is the best time to actually?
It is. I feel like it's kind of like getting to know, like you first, in order to like let somebody know you first, you gotta know who you are first, right? So if you don't know who you are, you don't know like where your stance with God is, or like what are you living for, what's your purpose in life for, well, not to be, but like obviously more spiritually related, right?
Sure.
Like where your stand is. Then
Sure.
if you don't know, if you're unserious, if you're unwavering, then like you're just gonna be like sand in the relationship.
I see.
No foundation, so you're just gonna be mixing.
I see.
So
I see.
there's no security for you, even if the person is like it has a good. Let's say the person is Christian, right, and they have a good stand with what they believe, right? Perhaps they're not with VSDA, just Christian. But since you're not stable, like you don't have your foundation of who you are, then they're gonna suck you in. So I feel like what Paul says that it distracts you. Yes, it does, because you're not concentrate. You don't know where your stand is. You don't know. You don't know who like. Perhaps you don't even know who like God is, right? But like if you are like single and you take that time to like devote yourself to like getting to know God, knowing who you are with Him, then you'll be able to like not get like
Easily swayed.
Easily swayed when you are with someone.
I see. Okay, so singleness can help you to establish good foundation. I see. Genesis, what do you think?
I do agree with the foundation thing.
Yeah. Genesis?
Dating is great, but dating is distracting. Imagine the last time you attended a church gathering. For some of you, while the band led worship, you read the words and sang along. As the scriptures were read, you listened carefully and ponder their meaning. Others of you attending the gathering with somebody cute or with some potential, and the entire time the worship band played, you were thinking, I wonder how I look right now. Sing louder, softer. What will look cooler? Wait, did our arms just touch? What could it mean?
Any can you guys resonate at all? Like you like somebody at church, you're like, and they, like because you're so focused on the other person, you like totally, like whatever was going on. No, never. I feel like all the time in like high school.
In high school, yeah, that's a very like
all the time.
Yeah.
Like
Luis is like, yeah.
I don't know. Like high school, I was like the loner kid, so it's like it's kind of irrelevant.
But dude, I think if I was single and there was a girl who came in, dude, I would not be focusing.
Eh?
Yeah. No, but so for you, it's just an age thing. Now it doesn't bother you as much. So even if there was like a date or a girl with potential, you're like focused.
Yeah.
Huh. How about you guys?
I don't think
Yeah, you'll be like, dang, BTS is right next to me. Game
No,
over.
definitely not before.
Game over.
Yeah, no. That means lack of maturity.
Yeah. Pretty funny story since we're talking about it. Do you know? Dang, it, what's that group? Anyway, one of the boy band group. He's SDA. Yeah. It's like a. It's a little bit older. 동방신기. Do you know who 동방신기 is? Okay. Anyways, yeah, they're a little bit older. Yeah.
What do you mean by a little bit older?
Like
For reference?
maybe I think they came out maybe 20 years ago, maybe 10, 15. I don't know. They're not like like I think like Gen Z's won't know. Yeah, I think millennials won't know though. Yeah. Anyways, and then like so whenever he would like visit church, like all these people would come to church with him. So
I too. That's so funny.
it's like really full, but it's like at the same time they're all here because they're all there. Cause
Shimon!
no.
But he's Christian. He goes to a church.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
His name is Shia Junzu. Yeah, Shia. He's really good at singing. Anyways, or he's not like really. I don't know how faithful he is, but I know his mom is very like
SDA.
very SDA. Anyways, how about for you, Genesis?
I mean, definitely, as a kid, yeah. Like
But not
teenager.
anymore.
Right now, I mean,
You don't think it would distract you that much?
like I'm not dating, so
No. So let's say it's the word is imagine,
imagine.
like that perfect guy
Imagine
that.
if I was dating someone, and I
Or
brought
maybe
him
like
there.
you guys just started talking and you invited him and
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do get distracted.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
I know that. Yeah.
so again, that's what it's talking about right here, right? How it could distract you. Okay, let's keep going. That is why Puritans used to divide their services. The man would sit on one side of the church, and the woman would sit on the other side. Have you ever tried to listen to a sermon while sitting next to a woman who smelled fantastic, or a guy who smelled fantastic and was very cute? So while dating can be fun, it can also be distracting.
Thus, God in His mercy has given us a gift called singleness. Why? Because He wants our attention. He wants to secure an undistracted devotion to the Lord. Colossians 1:16 explains that we're made through Him and for Him. Augustine said, "We are restless until our hearts find their rest in Thee." Time is short. Our relationship with God matters far more than anything else in this life. So God ordained singleness so that we might be able to focus entirely on the one we were made by and for.
So again, we got to go back to the context, right? What kind of context are we living in? Right? God is trying to redeem us. So it is imperative that we understand that and that we accept Jesus as our Savior and actually have a relation. Kind of like what, like to get to know who I am, what's going on in this world, and also understand who God is. So that's imperative. So he's saying singleness is a great time, the best time to do that. Because when you're married, when you're dating, when you're engaged, you have a lot of other distractions. Not that it's impossible, okay, but that it's very, very difficult. Let's keep going.
What you have now is freedom and time. These are resources when you are single that will diminish over time. You have more freedom and more time than any other kind of person on the planet. Children don't have the kind of freedom you do. Married people don't either. You have an unprecedented amount of discretionary time in this fast dueling season that you are in right now. It is freedom with a purpose, not to fill it with distractions, but to pursue an undistracted devotion to the Lord.
Yeah, and this is really, really important, right? So it's basically saying this time that you have, it's the greatest time. Because when you're young, you're like studying, you're always like grinding. And then when you get married, you have a family. Like when you guys are talking about shows, I'm like, man, I was actually thinking in my mind, I was like, how do you guys even have time to watch all of these shows? Right? Because when you're married and stuff like that, you don't got time for that stuff.
Wait, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So is that why people? What if somebody? Okay, so what if somebody's single for like till they're like 40, 50s? Is it?
If they're single until 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of things, right? We're not saying that God, like those people who are single because God wants them to be single for 40, 50 years. That's not what we're saying here. Okay, now there are some people who believe that, but I don't think that's biblical.
What's biblical?
Huh? I think what is biblical is we have freedom, like we have free will. Like those people who say that, like he's kind of like that. He's, I think, a determinist, which he basically says every single thing that happens in our life happens because God wants it to happen. So therefore, singleness too. He would say, oh, he's been single for 40, 50 years because that God wants him to be single, or God wants her to be single, so that they can have this kind of time. Okay? So I would rather say, rather than like God ordained necessarily, like set this time specifically, rather he has given you this gift. And then it's up to you how you're going to use that gift. Right? Some people just waste this gift and just like go, like they're like, no, I don't want to be, like, I don't want this thing. I don't want this gift. And I'm just going to go skip this stage as much as possible and go into dating right away. Like I'm going to bypass this stage of my life. I'm done with singleness and just bypass. Does that make sense? Yeah. So rather than God ordaining it necessarily, these are just 4 stages of life. And then we get to kind of choose how long we want to stay in such stages. So I think some people, they need to stay in this stage longer because they have more issues, right? Or they made some mistakes in their life. And so it's good for them to process things and things like that, right? Because the more, I always said this, but the more like crap that you don't deal with when you're single, you're always going to take all this crap into like your relationship. I'm sure like even dating, not like marriage, it just gets worse because your spouse, like Grace has to deal with my crap 24/7 now. Whereas like when you're dating, like you just kind of see their crap like here and there, a little bit here and there. But now it's like, no, your crap is like out in the open.
It's my problem now.
Right. So it's not just my crap anymore, it's our crap. Right? So I think some people have more crap that they need to deal with. Whether that is because of their own mistakes or because of, like bad circumstances of life. Like you might have been abused as a kid or things like that. That's stuff that it's really hard to deal with. Yeah. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect and then move on, right? Because we're never going to be like that. But I think the better way of thinking about it is there's this stage of my life, it's called singleness, and God wants me to use this time well. Right? But if I'm like, no, I don't want this, I'm ready to move on, then you're gonna miss out again the gift, what it could be, and that's what the study is all about. Yeah, very good question. Oh, and then also, the second thing is distractions, because again, our society is all about, hey, you're single, and you need to live it up. Like just date a whole bunch of people. Just don't be serious. Don't go into the different stages. Like kind of like, mess around with it and spend your money, do whatever you want, kind of a thing. Before you have to settle down and then, you're locked. Yeah. And again, like that makes sense in the non-Christian world then, right? Because you're only living here once. Yeah, you should live the heck out of it. Why? I would even say, like, why even get married? And then other people, like, they really want to get married, right? They want that like emotional connection.
That's their purpose.
Right. And which is fine, again. But again, in the Christian context that we're in, then again, it changes. Let's keep going. It's okay to be it's okay to long to be in a relationship and long to be married. That longing is actually a good thing. The ache for companionship existed in Adam before the entrance of sin in Genesis 3. But if you let that desire steal all the joy of your present single stage, you are missing out on the benefit available to you in this season of life right now. Okay, so it's okay, right? It's okay not wanting, kind of like what Luis was saying, wanting that like deeper connection with people, like that's a great thing. That's a God-given thing. But again, we have to understand there are certain things I need to do in my singleness. And for some of us, that might be shorter, and for some of us, that might be longer.
So, what does the pursuit of devotion look like? The word devotion in Greek means to be close beside. It suggests both a passive element of sitting and listening to someone and an active element of tending to his or her desires. It is to be attentive. Think of a good waiter at a restaurant. He is attentive in both of these respects. He is attentive to your words, listening carefully as you speak. He's also attending to your wishes, working hard to fulfill your desires. We are meant to be attentive to the Lord in the same way. Devotion expresses itself in attentiveness to His word and attending to His work. Study and service, the pursuit of intimacy with Him, and activity that pleases Him.
Yeah, so that's study, getting to know Him better, right? Listening to Him, and then service. Right? What can I do to serve Him? What does He want me to do?
Being attentive. Have you set aside regular time to meditate on the Word of God? Take a moment and look over your weekly schedule. Ask God to show you where the time may be. Find a place you like to sit. Develop a plan that gives you a sense of progress each day. Try writing out a book of the Bible. Give it a shot. Why do this? It makes you move slowly. Take about 10 minutes to write out the verses and then take 20 to 30 more minutes to really meditate upon them. Consider writing the verses in one color in your own thoughts and feelings in a different one. Make it an ongoing dialogue with the Lord.
Yeah, so many different ways to study the Bible, obviously, right? But He's just giving you one of the ways. So what He does is He writes down one verse or two verse. And then because when you're writing, you're thinking about the words like very carefully. And then He thinks, oh, kind of like what we do on Friday night, you know? We don't like read like a whole bunch of stuff. We read like this much and then we kind of dissect it together. And that's kind of what He's saying we need to do, right? We need to understand. We need to have this time of listening and to understanding. Genesis?
Devotion to the Lord is cultivated not only in the study but also out in the field. We grow in our knowledge and love of God as we engage both His word and His work. If you were living in the first century and you wanted to walk with Jesus, you would need to search for Him among the poor. Jesus traveled among those in need. In the same way today, if you want to be devoted to the Lord, know that He will constantly call you towards those who are spiritually, emotionally, and physically in need.
Yeah. And I think this is important. Not that, because normally we think like the poor as in just the like materially poor, but there's a lot of people around us that are materially very, very well, like doing very well, and yet like emotionally or spiritually they might be like dirt poor, like broke, you know. And so there's many things that we can do to help them with that. Next, get involved in your local church. Discover more about their local and global efforts to relieve suffering in the name of Jesus. Okay, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually as well. All three, hopefully. Then join in the work. I promise there is a deep satisfaction when you realize that the work of your hands today can have a substantial impact in the lives of people in your city and around the world. Okay? So when it's talking about devotion, there's two parts. Study and then service. Okay, so singleness is a great time for you to do those things without any distractions. Questions? Clarifications? All right, so let's summarize right here. Singleness equals devotion. Singleness, devotion. So singleness, if you're thinking about singleness, what's the point of singleness? Why did God give this stage singleness? The key word is for devotion. Luis, if you don't mind reading this for us.
God has given a season of singleness for every human being on the planet. Singleness does not exist simply as an extended adolescence, a pursuit of career ambition, or a preparatory phase for marriage. Rather, God has ordained the unique freedoms of single life, not for distractions or ambitions, but for devotion to Him.
Yeah. Okay, so again, within this context that God has given to us, God wanting to rescue this world, rescue you, Again, the whole point of singleness, the main purpose, is so that we can get to know Him, understand Him, who He is, and be loved by Him, and set a good foundation. Alrighty. Alright. Let's all skip all of this. Alright. What was something you